Hey guys, do you work in emergency medicine? An absolutely crazy and intense environment where you see things every single day that most people don't see their entire lifetimes? You feel burned out, unappreciated, like there's nobody you can talk to about the struggles and the things that you see every day? If that's you, I want to let you know that you are not alone. Today I have a bunch of real professionals with real careers in emergency medicine that can relate to the struggles you have on a daily basis. I want you to not just survive working in emergency medicine, but thrive in emergency medicine. My guests are from every walk of emergency medicine, and they're here not because they have it all figured out and they're perfect at this job. It's because they actually have a desire to help you. By the end of this episode, I hope you feel encouraged and feel like you're not alone and realize that you can succeed in emergency medicine regardless of what level of care you provide. My name is Aaron. I'm the host of Practical EMS. I've been an EMT, paramedic, and now ERPA. If that sounds at all of interest to you guys, please stay tuned. I'm going to bring in my guests and we are going to have an awesome show. I didn't really prepare an answer for this question, even though I wrote it.
Challenge accepted.
There's not much I would tell you guys, I guess, about being a PA. It's a weird gray area in between being a physician, I guess, and a paramedic. You know, I think we tend to practice a little bit differently depending on who we're practicing with. You know, you're trying to be an asset to the physician and not make things go slower than they might otherwise go, while also advocating for the patient. And I think most physicians understand that relationship. I see it very much as a team mentality. There's a lot of organizations, PA organizations, that try to change that relationship between us and physicians. But I feel strongly that if I wanted to be a doc, I would have gone to medical school. And so I think we are a team, and that's how it always needs to be. I don't see myself as being like this independent practitioner. I'm similar to a paramedic. The only reason I can do anything is because I have a supervising physician, and Colorado's changed what that's called, but it's still, at its core, it's a team mentality. We're taking patient care together, whatever you want to call it, a supervising physician, a medical director, you know, a collaboration, which is what the new term is. At its core, it's teamwork, and we work well together. And so that's kind of my opinion on it. Is it's kind of a weird gray zone because you're not really autonomous, but I will tell you, I feel extremely autonomous every day that I go to work. You know, I was a little bit fearful when I was a paramedic that I wouldn't have that autonomy as a PA, but I feel very autonomous. I see a lot of patients on my own. I see a lot of patients as a team, and so that's certainly not something I actually deal with in reality. So, what's that?
Autonomy is a big word. What does that mean? That's a big word.
I think to me it means independent, or maybe without oversight. You know, when you're in the field, you're very autonomous, right? You don't have a doc standing there over your shoulder being like, yeah, I didn't say you could do that. You know, You make all those decisions, and you're allowed to do all these things because a medical director has said you're allowed to do these things. And if you do something outside of that scope, you're kind of on your own. Yeah. You know, if you do something you're not supposed to do, you're really taking that on just yourself. Your medical director is not going to take responsibility for that. And a PA is a similar relationship with a physician, because I can only practice because I have a supervising physician or a collaborating physician. I can only do things that physician's allowed to do. I can't. There's some issues with it where there was a case, you know, if you're certified to take out an IUD and your supervising physician cannot take out an IUD, you no longer can do that skill. And that's what some of the terminology has changed. So that's now not the case. But I see it as a very similar relationship. You know, I'm tied to a physician, and if you're not okay with that, then go to medical school. But if you don't have an issue with that and you're comfortable working as a team, a PA is still a very autonomous job. But that's my 2 cents on it.
I just want to add something to that. In my experience, field medics, whether paramedic, EMT, critical care trained, are the people to become PAs because that autonomy is there. I'm also a medical director for our local critical care transport well for the region. And the people who have the most difficult time with that autonomy are nurses, whether they've been in the ICU or the ER, and they go to a helicopter. And now they can't just reach around the corner and ask me about what they want to do, what they should do. They have a protocol and have to follow it. And sometimes they have a medic going, come on, let's go. We're doing this. And they have a tough time with that autonomy. That's just the way we're trained, right? By the same token, ER nurses flowing into an NP program to work in the ER, no one's better than that because they've worked side by side with us for so many years and learned so much. You can't put that on a CV.
Yeah.
That you've worked in an ER. Yeah, because you can work in an ER where you never have anything, or you can work on a floor where they just come in once a day and throw orders down and you do it and you don't know why you're doing what you're doing. It seems like it might be not the right thing or whatever. And so that's where I think some of that comes into play. And that's when people ask me the difference between Ps and PAs, I kind of see that as that. And lots of times I find myself with newer NPs saying, hey, you didn't see this patient. I want you to go look at their belly and give me a second opinion on what's going on to kind of help guide them to having some of that autonomy because it's not there from their previous training.
Yeah, well, you're a teacher, which is good. Not all the docs are. And
I was in academics for 10 years before I did this, so it's the natural thing.
Yeah. But I know a PA for a while, and she has certain docs that she likes to work with. And the ones that she likes to work with are the ones that teach her because she's a sponge and she wants to know everything you can possibly know about it. And I see that, when she says, Dr. So-and-so, I like working with them. When I come in with a patient, I get that same treatment from them. Hey, come here and look at this. I had a really cool case, so, I wish more docs, we've got a lot of docs, the hospital that you're talking about that are like that, but there are some that just aren't. But the more of docs we had like that, the better. And it's so much better for everybody involved, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So physicians' turns. What do you guys want us to know?
What you got?
I hesitated to, and I don't at all mean to sound cynical or rude, but I will say I don't necessarily feel like I should answer that question because I don't know that I truly, at this particular juncture, care, I guess I should say, what people do or don't understand about the job. Like, it doesn't make a huge impact. What I mean by that is one of the things that came to mind initially, and then I realized I don't know if it matters. I don't know how this is going to come off, but I immediately thought, this is a safe place, right? I immediately thought, I wish the general public maybe knew how much abuse and generalized shit we take from people.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself cynically, the people I'm talking about don't care to hear it. Yeah. So then I just moved on in my mind. But that's the thought's there, so I thought I'd mention that. And the other thing, though, I will say, and this may sound a little egotistical, I don't know. I used to find it kind of comical how little people knew, probably in general, about medicine, right? If you're not around it, it's its own field. It's like, I don't know anything about engineering. So it's probably similar to that, to be honest. I should have some grace there. I used to find it somewhat comical when people just truly couldn't grasp what an ER doc did. But over time, it gets a little baffling because you mentioned, everybody here has mentioned the books that are out there, the TV shows people watch. Everybody seems to have some familiarity with an emergency or a department, right? To some extent. But I find in general conversation oftentimes, which is why I try not to mention what I do until someone just really keeps at it, and then you mention what you do. And then oftentimes I'm shocked at how many people of all fields, all backgrounds, educated folks that have lived life, will say, so what do you do in the emergency department? And you'll say, well, I'm an emergency physician. What's your specialty? So the specialty is emergency medicine. So do you do surgery? So I guess you could say that if I absolutely have to. I'm not the person you want to, but there is a limited number of surgeries that I'll do. Sure, if you want to call it that. Oh, so are you a trauma surgeon? No, I won't take anyone to the OR. So what do you do in the emergency department?
Emergency shit.
And the circle goes over. And I'm like, so, and you'll maybe even go as far as saying, well, if you roll into the emergency department as your first stop, having a heart attack or a stroke or anything you're fearful of is happening, I will be the first person you meet. And they just deer in the headlights. What is that specialty? What in the world must they do daily? I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah, I just don't know what else to say. I guess you'd have to dive into the world of medicine, which is a big box to jump into, and realize how many specialties there are and how there's a niche for everything. And that the emergency department, for at least the last 40 years now, is its own entity for this reason. But it's hard to get people to grasp. Because everything else, if someone says, well, I'm a nephrologist, that means I work with kidneys directly. You don't even have to know what the kidney does. You're like, that guy knows kidneys. Yeah. Okay. When you say, I do emergencies, they're like, A few of them, all of them. What do you mean do an emergency? I'm like, I'm out of words already. I don't know what to tell you. So you kind of wish people had a generalized feel for maybe that it feels sometimes like the documentary, this is before my time, I'll admit, when emergency medicine became a specialty, right? It's like 1979 in Detroit. And we're trying to say we do stabilize sick people. This is its own specialty. It takes a unique set of skills and knowledge. It feels like that fight still goes on to explain to people what does it look like to deal with an emergency. And you're like, I just don't want to talk about this anymore.
Well, it's like EMS. Emergency physicians, emergency medicine is still in its infancy,
It's
really, comparatively.
Yeah.
And so it just takes time. We'll weed those old jerks out once in a while, finally. But anyway.
You have anything on this topic,
Yeah,
Les?
it's a knowledge base that's an ocean wide and a foot deep. And
Oh man,
pretty
that's
much everything
perfect.
you come in with, we have to be able to handle. I had in one shift a cardiologist astounded that I did a C-section, and an obstetrician astounded that I put in a pacemaker.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
So even the other physicians don't really understand what our capabilities
That's
are.
true. That's very true.
I
Or
would
appreciate it.
or appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They know who finished at the top of the med school class, and that's a hard residency to get into.
Yeah.
So they know. Yeah, we could have done.
They're
We could have
jealous.
done anything we wanted to.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would pull in that plays into everything that we're talking about is presentations of patients with medics. And one of the things that I think where we differ just a little bit, and I think I see it more recently than I saw it, say, 20 years ago, and that is in the field is doing so much stuff, making kind of diagnoses and initiating treatment and doing so much more stuff than they've ever done, that becomes more of a focus. But they're doing it with usually a sliver of knowledge. A drunk uncle is saying what happened.
Yeah.
A 5-year-old kid is saying what happened. That's the history, right? And those are the hardest cases when I get nothing.
Yeah.
And what I do is not very specific at the beginning. You bring a patient to me, everything's a possibility
Oh, yeah.
because I'm the goalie.
Yeah.
And all the possibilities are there. And so when someone brings a patient in and the report is, oh, he was found down at the park, he's got this abrasion on his head, and one of the other homeless guys says he has seizures. He had a seizure and fell.
Good start.
That doesn't end my road. I'm like, okay, and I'm not dismissive of that. Yeah, that sounds right, probably. But no.
Mm.
Is this sodium 115?
Yeah.
Is this magnesium 2? Did he have VTAC? Did someone beat the shit out of him? And it happens all the time that someone beat the shit out of him, right? So the workup that I did, if I would have followed that trail, which is easy, right?
Yeah.
And I trust their opinion. So that's the thing is, and so kind of what I like is having more stuff like more knowledge of like, yeah, we've never transported this guy before, or there's no ID on him, or everybody there was wasted drunk, like little other details that pull it into me so that I can start building a picture as opposed to looking for something really specific and you impressing me with that diagnosis that you made.
Yeah.
I might be impressed by it, but I'm not going to use it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can check your own.
I'm going
Yeah.
to immediately broaden everything.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the only thing I would want them to relate is I really like generalities. And if you have a specific thought on probably what happened and what it looks like, that's great. But I'm not going to roll with that as the likely thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to introduce the last topic, which I didn't really prep anyone for.
Great.
And if you don't have thoughts on this, don't feel pressured to comment on it. It's a little bit of a deep topic. And we've got about 45 minutes. And this is something we've all probably asked ourselves, I think, working in this field. Whether you're religious or not, whatever your thoughts are, I welcome all of your opinions. But where is God in emergency medicine? Is there a God in emergency medicine? Is emergency medicine just more evidence that there's not a God? It's a question I've wrestled with a lot. I'll open up with just a story I have that particularly made me wrestle with it. Not unlike the story that Nathan told earlier, but I was working again on the 48-hour shift. It's a kind of a rural shift. Your scene times are upwards of an hour sometimes. My partner Joey and I are fast asleep at 2 a.m. And we get the call, and we have pager systems, and a lot of times the dispatcher has to get all the call information. So you get this page and it says a bunch of meaningless stuff. You don't know what you're going for. But in particular settings, you get the call information accurate right away. And that's usually when it's a cardiac arrest. And that was the case here. And we see at 2 a.m, it's a cardiac arrest. And, we're both like, oh shit, you get dressed a lot faster. You get down to the ambulance a lot faster than when it comes out as an abdominal pain. And we get the call information, and it's a 5-year-old cardiac arrest. We're both like, fuck.
Yeah.
That's what everybody says when you get that call, right? You both just look at each other and you say, fuck. And our ETA is like 40 minutes, something ridiculous. And we'll call this kiddo 5-year-old Ethan, just to assign some humanity to it. But we take 40 minutes to get on call. That's, a call you drive very unsafely to. You're disobeying the traffic laws. You're not driving per policy because you're willing to put yourself in a little bit of danger, I think, for that. And we get there, and the volunteer firefighters are doing CPR. There's no airway, no meds have been given. So we do that. I have the meds written down on my glove because we had plenty of time to calculate the doses, and we're giving some epi. We're making sure it's not a shockable rhythm. We're shocking any sign of VFib or anything that we could do. You intubate the kid, and, no pulse. We're not getting ROSC. And we're on scene for long enough that I'm taking a turn doing chest compressions, really, so I can get my hands on this kid. And I'm asking God, hey, I'm going to touch this kid. You need to do something here. And nothing, we don't get pulses back. We flew this kid to the hospital with no return to circulation, because not a lot of us like to take the responsibility to pronounce that. And, they were able to do chest compressions with some kind of device on the way in. And of course the kid didn't survive. And we go back to our station, we clean up our rig, and, we're trying to go back to sleep at 3 a.m. after dealing with that. You don't go back to sleep after that, but, and it's, where's God in this? Why does something like that happen? And that's something I still struggle with, to this day. I don't know that I have a clear answer, a clear solution. I'm a Christian, like a few of you guys here, and I've never really questioned the existence of God over it, but I certainly have gotten real pissed at him. And I think God can take that anger. I think he's big enough to handle it, is my opinion. And I don't even think he's frustrated by our anger towards him in certain situations. I think that, and this is obviously getting really deeper than I've ever gotten on the show before about this stuff, but I think that the fact that we have free will means that things, even at the microscopic level, God does not always intervene on. Miscarriages is an example, right? This totally innocent life that's gone before it has the chance to even take a breath. But God doesn't intervene, right? Something that none of us have any control over, but the DNA did not come together quite right? And that's the cause of most first trimester miscarriages is the DNA didn't go together quite right. Why is God's hand isn't on that DNA as it comes together every time? And I think what I believe currently is that God has given us free will, and that has ramifications beyond what we fully understand. But I want to hear you guys' opinion on this. And if you don't have an opinion, don't feel pressured to talk about it. I don't know how all of you guys believe. But
Does your mom watch this, Aaron?
No, probably not. So yeah, what do you guys got, Casey?
Well, who knows God's mind? God knows. I can't even fathom, the thought that comes out. But we've discussed this before, and I've told this story to you before. I was on the side of a mountain with a bunch of our paramedic brothers riding bikes, and it was a beautiful day. And oh my gosh, it was the most beautiful day. The sky was blue. The mountain was green. It was just, it was warm. It's beautiful. And I just looked up there and I said, man, God is great. And one of our, brothers said, you believe in God? And I said, yeah. And he goes, how can you with all that we see? And I said, how can you not with all that we see. You know, how many times have we gone on calls where it was a young patient, they're healthy, they're a cardiac arrest. We get the tube, we get the line, we get the drugs, we get everything, we get the electricity. It's fresh, and they meet their untimely demise, right? And then the next call we go on, we get 80-year-old guy, smokes 4 packs a day, drinks, a couple of gallons of vodka every couple of days, cardiac arrest. And he, we look at him and they live. They walk out of the hospital the next day. How is that? That there is nothing that we do that isn't touched by some sort of divine touch. And the reason that we have those things turn out, I truly believe I'm just an instrument. I've gone to school, I've learned the things I need to learn, and I get put in places where I need to be, either for good or for bad. And if it turns out bad, I was supposed to be there. If it turns out good, I was supposed to be there. I think that people are put into our paths for a reason. That's firmly what I believe. And that's one of the ways that I've done this for so long, is that very thought, rather right or wrong. But that's what I believe. And you can't change my mind about it. I mean, it's ingrained in me. But the more and more I look at it, the further and further I get out from being a brand new medic to now, I look at all this stuff and go, yeah, that's God's hand. That's God's hand. That's God's hand. Whether it turns out the way I want it to or not, still. But anyway, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Anybody else have thoughts on this?
I'm the odd man out. I'm an atheist. But I think that because I don't believe in an afterlife or a deity, for me, I find that what I do is even more special, because this is, in my belief, it's all fleeting. I unfortunately had a long time significant other that passed really early on. And as much as I would love to believe that I'll see him again, I don't believe that. So for me, it is more special that this time that we have on this earth, and we're so lucky to have consciousness and to be able to do what we do and get the feelings associated with it. But for me, it's almost on the opposite. It motivates me a little bit more to really just be so appreciative of the impact that I've had on my patients, the impact that they've had on me. Because I think in a way for me, I get more impact from my patients than they've ever had from me, because I've learned a lot from them, and I'm very
Don't sell yourself
very
short.
Grateful for that.
Really, don't sell yourself short.
I mean, I've had
Believe me.
incredible encounters, but I appreciate that. And yes, I know that I've done some things that I know will stay with my patients for a long time, and I'm very, very grateful for having those moments, and I feel very privileged to do what I do. And it's a great honor to be a part of so many significant moments in all these people's lives. Like, I truly don't take it for granted, and I'm very happy to be in this profession, and just extremely grateful for the experiences.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. I know it's a tough topic.
It is. Maybe there is a God, and maybe this is heaven.
Yeah.
And we don't always save lives, but we ease suffering every day.
Right.
I would like to twist it just a little bit. It's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, which is the lives that we lead at work compared to what everyone else does, and compared to what our home lives are like. And the chaos and emotional pain that humans inflict on each other, and the physical pain that humans inflict on each other, and just the evil and general ugliness that we have to take care of every day. And then we go home to our home, safe families, and other people that we know that are safe and normal. And it's difficult to know which is the real world, and trying to enucleate yourself out of the evil that you work on to go home to the people that you care about. And it can't just be difficult for me. It's got to be for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to work on it constantly, or the world is evil, or there's no evil. And having to live with that balance that we all know and see that not everyone gets to see.
Yeah.
Is difficult.
Well, and I think we get jaded and cynical because that's what we see every day. We see it every day. And so then that becomes our world. But then you look at, you try to look outside of that and you see, oh my gosh, these kids are doing this and they're really great kids, and they're serving and they're going above and beyond, or, just random acts of kindness. And there's so many more of those things in our world than there is evil. It's not an even thing. There's not equal evil, equal good. We have a lot more good, if you look for it, than we do evil. Yeah. Yeah. But we're because of the fact of the job that we do, we see evil all the time. Yeah.
I do think that dichotomy of coming home, though, is a struggle for everybody.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
we have a job that is extremely unique, and you see horrible evil, unimaginable things sometimes, and unimaginable tragedy too. And an hour later, you're walking through your front door to your family who's been at school or been at work or been home all day, and they're not seeing this stuff at all. So it's like, I don't think I really have a specific comment on that other than the fact that it's really, really difficult. But all of this stuff that anybody hears today is just our opinion only. It does not reflect any agencies we work for, hospitals we work for, any companies we work for. It's just our opinions only. Like I said earlier, we've modified all these patient stories so that any resemblance to a real life patient is just coincidental. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. There is no medical advice here, so do not use this as medical advice. Do not use this to diagnose any medical or healthcare related conditions.
So the original question, where is God in emergency medicine, or is there one? That question comes with a lot of bias, obviously, as in our entire life and background, each of us out there and here who answer that question, not just our experience since working in emergency medicine. It comes with your entire life's background, right? So here's my bias. I am a Christian. I have been in emergency medicine for less than 50% of my life. I grew up never hearing a word about any God, never going to a church, a service of any kind, having a religious book in the household. Zero. As an adult, I lived a pretty rowdy life when I was young and was in a lot of places I probably ought not have been, with a lot of people I probably ought not have been with, and had some interesting experiences, good and bad, that led me to wonder about that ultimate question that I think all of us owe it to ourselves on the planet to sit and think about one day. Is there a God? Just the basics. And if so, who might that be? What's he like? Why should I care? And does he care that I'm wondering? So as an adult, not yet in emergency medicine, throughout my education and life experiences, my discovery of physics and microphysics and biology and medicine and all the things I educated myself on, and then eventually medical school and beyond, I went into this game of emergency medicine as a Christian. Since then, I have seen many children and adults, sick and healthy, die and live. I have seen violence and some macabre things that I will never forget, which we've all mentioned here at this table today, that I will not go into detail on. And just like Les says, we see the things that human beings do to one another, and it is astounding, not in a good way, oftentimes. And I will simply say, to the original question, despite sometimes my best efforts in the past, I do not have the faith to be an atheist. I cannot. I have learned what man has been able to learn about how even the smallest feature of our incredible selves, like the development of an eye, or for crying out loud, a fetus that fails, how it ever got there in the first place. I do not have the faith to not believe in God. So there's a lot more to that, obviously. But for one man, that's where I land.
I think for me, it seems like an impossible task to try to understand the suffering or the evil. It really seems impossible. But I grew up in a Christian household, and then I walked away from my faith for several years. And then through my own health struggles and walk with that personally, I came back to my faith. And for me, I can sustain this job because of my faith. Like, it gives me a purpose. It gives me a drive when I care for people. But I so appreciate what you said. Like, regardless of your faith, you're caring for people in the moment and you're taking that captive. And like, that's so important. And I really struggled a couple of years ago when we had this mom that delivered precipitously at home, and it was almost a full-term baby. And the baby coded after birth. And so they came in, and the mom went into one resuscitation bay and the baby came into mine. And we coded this beautiful baby girl for so long, and she was so chunky and healthy looking, except that we couldn't get her back. And the mom had to go to the OR, and so we ended up calling it, and it was so weird. Like, I don't even know why this happened, but called it, and all the ER staff left, and the NICU NP and the NICU nurses all left. Everybody just vanished. And I was just alone with this baby. And I was like, why did everybody leave? Like, what am I supposed to do here? And she's just laying there, and I was just torn apart. And I'm just looking at this beautiful baby, and I mean, I'm heartbroken, and I'm trying to reconcile this. Like, why, Lord, why is this happening? I don't have an answer. I don't know. But I just felt like I needed to hold her. Like, that was what I was supposed to do. And so I put a diaper on her, and I swaddled her, and I just held her and just wanted to, like, show her love. Even though she wasn't there anymore, I wanted to show her love. And so finally, one of my friends, another nurse, came in, and she just found me in there holding her. And she called up to the NICU, and so we walked the baby up there and, gave her to them to wait for her mom and her family. But that was very hard. And I, like a week later, went on vacation with my family, and we went to the beach, and I was just sitting on the beach, like looking out at the ocean, just really pondering that. And I ultimately was like, you know what? I don't know if I'll ever understand. I don't know. I don't think we're going to understand a lot of things on earth. But my purpose was to be there to care for that child and to show it love. And so that's where I find like my faith, even in like those really hard aching situations.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's really good. Anybody else want to share anything in particular on this topic?
I'm not really religious. I'm not atheist. It's just I'm just not religious. I think someone calls it agnostic or something like that. I used to be when I was a kid, but then with the whole high school stuff, the suicide attempts, the prostitution, having friends shoot themselves and die, and blah blah blah, and then with a lot of physical abuse and then emotional abuse from the girls that I was with. And yes, men get abused. I will fight that. Yep. So I kind of went away from it. And then with, all of us here with medicine, seeing kids start shotguns, seeing kids overdose, seeing, very bad pregnancies, the stuff that is awful and horrible, and the pain that it's going to happen to others, and the pain that's happened to an individual to the point that they want to die, So I kind of went away from all that. And with what I do is, even on every single call, even if it's, someone who just fell over, they're looking to us as that help, So that's why I sit here on calls and I will hold people while they cry. I hold them while they yell. I'll sit here and just talk to them like people so that they can at least, maybe since they're praying for God to help, maybe then we can be that answer for them to the best of our abilities so that they feel that their faith is still strong, especially in horrible situations where someone's loved one does die. You know, we've all been there, all of us. And if there's any way we can help in that situation while they are praying for faith and while they are praying for help, you know, we can try to assist in that way. Like I said, I'm not really religious. That's kind of what I have on it. I don't judge anyone for it. I don't judge anyone for anything. I don't have the right to. Nobody does. But, you know, no matter the ethnicity, no matter the race, no matter the sexuality, anything like that, you know, each person's thoughts and feelings matter. So if we can help them in those situations, you know, that's what really counts, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I don't know that we can really go on from that topic. So I think unless anyone has anything else they want to add, I think we'll end kind of this series right there. Does anybody have anything else they want to say before we kind of wrap it up?
I do have a story for after.
Okay.
You want me to add on like a funny story really fast?
I got funny stories.
I don't know
for
that
days.
I don't know that we can. I mean, you can try. We've got 20 minutes.
I'll just say this. This is, I always tell new nurses when I train them. This was my first code, and I genuinely had no idea what I was doing. It is. Wait, it is. It is.
We are all fucked up in the
Actually,
head.
You know what? I think you were the provider in this.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Here we go.
It was fine. But
I'm not forgetting people back who shouldn't come back.
no, it was just I was so nervous and all of my adrenaline was pumping so hard that I think my brain literally shut off because I was like, I've never been in a code. I think I'm gonna poop my pants right here. Yeah, legit. And yeah, you were the provider because it was a kid, but got him back. It's okay. Like the kid did great. But this was my first time being on the primary nurse side. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And the other nurses in the room were all experienced to kind of try to support me. And I don't think we knew that the patient was coding until they got there. And, you know, they yelled down the hallway, oh, the patient's coding and we need epi right away. And I ran out of the room and I went to the Pyxis to get epi. And the nurses, I know, and the nurses, I mean, my brain just fell out. I was like, oh, I better go to the Pyxis, better get some epi. I'll just type my credentials in. It'll take no time at all. And they were like screaming at me. They're like, Kiara, get back in here and crack the freaking code card. I was like, oh. Then I tried to crack it. My hands were shaking so much I couldn't even open it. Yeah. So anyways, don't go to the Pyxis to get epi. Open the crash card.
All right, since we've made the transition, does anyone else have funny stories to
I've
end
got
on?
a lot of them. but
Yes, I got a lot of them.
I've got one that doesn't involve me, actually. It involves one of the doctors that used to be in the ER, Marilyn, and one of the nurses. Marilyn told this story to somebody, but one of the nurses that used to be there, she was working out in what was triage back then instead of intake. And these guys came in to the hospital that you guys work at back in the old ER and came into triage. And he's a bicyclist. So, you know, we've got a lot of those around town, right? You know, because they're training. And so anyway, he's got his bike shorts on and he's got a, you know, bike shirt on and he's standing there and he's bleeding. And he's standing there with his hand down his crotch.
No.
Right. And so Sharon puts him up on the bed, right? And she starts cutting this stuff off. She cuts it off and she's looking at his junk, right? She's lifting it. And he goes, what are you doing? And she goes, well, you're bleeding. He goes, yeah, but I think it's from this collarbone fracture that was open. It had dripped down.
At least take me to dinner first.
Yeah.
You owe me.
Not that you're not doing a good job and all, but I'm up here. This is where it hurts because he's down there like this. 'Cause it hurt. Yeah. Hilarious. Yeah.
I got a gimp suit story.
Okay.
So this was a while ago in front of a hospital downtown. So this was when I was on wheelchairs. This was years ago. So I was literally driving to said hospital. I think I was just getting food. And like all I see at the corner of my eye, this is night shift. Okay. Always fucking is. It's the corner of my eye, all I see is like someone on the ground just doing this. Okay. It gets worse. So obviously it's like 12 o'clock at night. So I'm like,
They don't need the ER, bro.
no, oh no, I wasn't picking him up. I needed answers. So I creeped up, and as soon as I get the headlights on, sure as hell there is an individual until I figured out it was a guy, literally in a full cat gimp suit with ears, bondage daddy zipper.
Bring out the cat.
Oh yeah, tail just crawling around like this, and I was like, oh, I'm putting it in park. Oh yeah, I put it straight in park, got out. This was the nicest person I've ever fucking met too. I was like, sir? He looks at me, he sits down just like a cat, literally sits on a cat, unzips his zipper. He's like, how can I help you? I think that's what I ask you, bro. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, my guy, you are crawling around Colorado in a gimp suit. And he's like, okay. Do you not see what I'm talking about here? And he was like, oh, well, my cat died a year ago, so I like to eat shrooms and dress up like a cat and crawl around so I can remember him. I'm like,
Use a picture.
I was just like, what?
Here's Tabby right here.
I was like, bro, what? He's like, yeah, it helps me remember my cat.
That's
I'm like,
hilarious.
okay, do you need any help? No, I appreciate you stopping by and making sure I'm okay. I'm like, and I asked him the whole A&O4, just
Doesn't lack capacity.
and then and I was just like, okay, are you close to home? He's like, yeah, I was just gonna go around the block and just do a nice little 360. And I'm like, okay. So he zips his mouth right back up and he goes like, starts crawling away. I was just like, what the fuck did I just see? To this day, I've never heard the call go out. I've never seen him again. But man, I'm at Walmart or if I'm like buying my cat's food and I see like a guy, I'm like, I wonder if that's him. I need answers, bro.
I was at lunch before I got here with Corey. You know him. He's got ears that stick out like this, right? We're working at one of the universities here in town that has rigorous training and lots of rules. So we got call for this guy in one of the quads, naked. It's wintertime.
Always naked.
Not naked, middle of the night, right? And just running around and screaming. So we get there. They've got him in the back of the police car, naked.
Was he naked?
No, he was nude.
Oh, okay.
He was without clothes.
Oh, okay.
He had a smile.
Good
That's
for
what
him.
he had. That's what he was wearing. Handcuffs too. He had handcuffs on. And so they're like, this guy's just crazy running around here. It's like 10 degrees maybe, and yeah. And there's a little shrinkage. And so
Guy 6 inches.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I said, I'm going to put the stretcher down here low enough so that we can open the door on this side. I said, you guys are going to be over here. I'm going to, because he's just beating himself right in the back of the ambulance.
Wait,
or the back
beating?
of the police car.
Or-
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And so
You can
that,
flip more to that.
that comes later.
Comes
Yeah, so you'll
comes the
see.
word.
Yeah, so you'll see. Yeah. Anyway, so I said, I'm going to go on the other side. On the count of 3, we're going to open our doors, and I'm just going to push him through. And so we do. It works great. We get him tied up. We get him, tied like this and like this, and we get him in the back of the ambulance. And I'd given him some Haldol, which does nothing, right? So thank God we don't use it anymore. And for our purposes, it doesn't work, in the short. So anyway, we're going to one of the other Brand X hospitals and in the northern part of town, and we started to pull out, and this guy would parrot some of the things that we'd say. And so he grabs his junk and
Attaboy.
he starts yanking on this, right? And I said, dude, you're gonna pull off. Yeah. I said, right. I said, you're gonna pull off your penis. And he goes, penis. You just start screaming it, right? And so we're like, and Corey's up there driving. He can hardly stay on the road. So we get off the property and we're heading towards this. And this guy's just nuts. And he gets turned over onto his stomach now. But he's, like this. And he looks like a tent.
Oh, so you got full moon,
a
bro.
big naked tent, and he weighs like 150 pounds. Well, I weigh 100 pounds more than that, right? and I can't push him down.
Yeah.
So I finally get him down, and I'm holding onto the bar like this, and I'm kind of standing on him, holding him down. And he goes, Corey goes, I thought you shot him up. I said, yeah, I shot him up. And the guy goes, shot through the heart, and you're too late. I said, oh, he's Bon Jovi fan. So Corey gets him to
That place.
He calls because I've got my hands full, and so he calls the hospital and tells them, hey, we need everybody there. We need PD there. We need another ambulance there, maybe. And so we had this paramedic. Her name's Stevie. She pulled up, and thank the Lord she didn't have her camera, because when we got there, I just kind of went and it just dropped right on top of him and grabbed the stretcher. Right. So one of the security guards comes in, and he looks down and he goes, hey, just relax. And I looked at the security guard and I went, I wish I would have thought of that. He goes, that was pretty stupid, wasn't it? And I said, yeah, didn't help.
I don't know, just relax is kind of creepy if you're laying on.
Yeah, right? Yes, for sure. And so they pull me out of the ambulance on top of him, and I rode this guy dirty into the hospital.
I can go a TV ad. That's pretty much it.
In fact, and yeah, we get in there, and it's a brand new charge nurse. I'd never seen her before, and she goes, let's see, do we want him to put him in psych, or do we? And I said, make up your fucking mind.
I'm sitting on a naked guy.
Hey, don't talk to me like that. And I said, I've been wrestling this guy for the last 20 minutes. I said, make up your mind. So one of the doctors comes in and goes, put him in here. They did like, I don't know, Haldol in a drum. I mean, they were pumping it in. And it still didn't knock that guy out. But yeah, it was crazy. They ended up RSIing him.
Oh shit!
And I think he fought through the sucks.
That's insane.
It was crazy, but yeah, it was funny. But he serenaded us with shot through the heart.
All right, I think we'll wrap it up there. Guys, I'm going to jump in here. That's the end of this episode, but we are going to continue this discussion with these same fine folks next week, so I hope you'll tune in. If you guys found this valuable, if you were encouraged by it, uplifted by it, or if it just makes it so you don't feel like you're so alone with the stuff that you have to struggle with every day, I hope you will go over to practicalems.com, join the email list for more encouraging and valuable information. I'll send you emails to let you know when the new content comes out. And of course, if you subscribe on your favorite podcast player, leave a 5-star rating and review. That is super helpful to allow me to do this. I don't make any money off of it, and it does cost money to produce. So the more you can subscribe and participate, the better I am able to continue producing this. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week.